Huxtable residence?
Is this the very handsome Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable?
Yes, it is. You sound quite
Did you send Marlon home? Whoa, you're on the 20th level already?
No, trick-or-treating.
Trick-or-treating? What's that?
You know, when you dress up and people give you candy.
You're kidding.
The studio fell into absolute silence as Bill Cosby entered the set. Everyone knew something was different that day. "We're going to change the way America sees black families," he said quietly. No one imagined those simple words would start a cultural revolution that would last 8 seasons and forever change the landscape of American television. And the truth is more shocking than you ever imagined. In September 1984, when The Cosby Show premiered on NBC, America was prepared to laugh, but not necessarily to change. The concept seemed simple. An upper-middle-class African-American family living in Brooklyn, New York. Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable, an obstetrician, his wife Claire, a lawyer, and their 5 children. But behind the scenes, a fierce battle was being waged. Bill Cosby had turned down several offers to return to television after his previous successes. It was only when he received complete creative control that he decided to move forward with the project, with one non-negotiable condition. The series would show a successful, functional black family, without the stereotypes that dominated the representation of black people in media until then. They wanted me to do another comedy about a clever, funny black man. I said no. I wanted to show that black parents raise their children, love their children, discipline their children, Cosby revealed years later. NBC executives were nervous. American television had a long tradition of portraying black families through stereotypes or in poverty situations. Shows like Good Times and Sanford and Son, although popular, often resorted to jokes based on economic hardships. Cosby wanted something radically different. What few know is that the first pilot episode was considered too educational by network executives. They wanted more jokes and fewer life lessons. Cosby threatened to abandon the project. Only the intervention of Brandon Tartikoff, then president of NBC, saved the show. Tartikoff, against the advice of his marketing consultants, bet on Cosby's instinct. It was a bet that would change NBC's fate, transforming it from a third-place network in ratings to the absolute leader on Thursday nights. The cast assembled to bring the Huxtable family to life couldn't imagine the impact they would have. Felicia Rashad, initially Felicia Ayers-Allen, was chosen to play Claire Huxtable after an audition in which, according to reports, she intimidated Cosby himself with her presence. "She walked into the room and instantly became the mother and wife I had imagined," Cosby said. The chemistry between them was immediate, but what the public didn't know was that Rashad had almost given up acting before getting the role. After a series of minor and rejected roles, she was considering changing careers when the opportunity arose. The young actors who played the Huxtable children, Lisa Bonet, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Tempest Bledsoe, Keshia Knight Pulliam, and Sabrina LeBeouf, were selected from thousands of candidates. Cosby insisted that each of them not only look like part of a family, but also demonstrate intelligence and potential for growth. Knight Pulliam, only 5 years old when she started, became the youngest actress ever nominated for an Emmy. However, behind the cameras, Cosby subjected the young cast to rigorous study sessions during filming breaks. Bringing teachers to the set and checking school grades, he constantly told us, "You're not just actors. You're role models for black children across the country," a Malcolm Jamal Warner recalled years later. That was a burden and an honor. What remained a secret for decades was that Cosby established private college funds for each of the young actors, with the condition that they maintain good academic performance and exemplary behavior. This generous gesture was never publicly disclosed during the original airing of the series. As the series gained popularity, external pressures also grew. The show faced criticism from 2 seemingly opposite fronts: conservatives who questioned the portrayal of such a successful black family as unrealistic, and activists who accused Cosby of creating a bourgeois fantasy disconnected from the real problems faced by the black community in Reagan's America. Spike Lee, then an emerging young director, publicly questioned whether the show was black enough. suggesting that Cosby had created a family that acted white to please predominantly white audiences. The most painful criticism came from our own community. Cosby confessed in a rare, candid interview for Ebony magazine in 1988, as if there was only one way to be black in America, as if education, articulation, and success were racial betrayal. NBC received hate mail from white supremacist groups who opposed the positive representation of a black family in prime time. Simultaneously, some black cultural critics argued that the show ignored issues such as racial discrimination, police brutality, and economic inequality. What few knew at the time was that Cosby secretly funded several social projects in underprivileged black communities, using part of his profits from the show. While publicly advocating universal family values, privately he invested millions in educational programs for black youth. This duality reflected his belief that systemic changes and positive cultural representation were not mutually exclusive, but complementary. Amidst this whirlwind of external pressures, internal tensions on set occasionally reached critical points. "It was like a pressure cooker," described a production crew member who preferred to remain anonymous. Bill was a perfectionist. He rewrote dialogues minutes before filming, demanded multiple takes, and sometimes dismissed the live audience if he wasn't satisfied with their energy. Director Jay Sandrich frequently mediated conflicts between Cosby's artistic vision and the practical limitations of television production. One of the most tense conflicts occurred during the third season, when Lisa Bonet, who played daughter Denise Huxtable, began showing signs of rebellion against the program's immaculate family image. After her controversial role in the film Angel Heart, 1987, which included explicit sexual scenes with Mickey Rourke, the relationship between Bonet and Cosby cooled considerably. "It was like two worlds colliding," reported Jeffrey Owens, who played son-in-law Elvin. Bill's world of traditional family values and Lisa's pursuit of unrestricted artistic expression. What remained hidden from the public was a heated discussion behind the scenes, where Cosby allegedly told Bonet, "You have a responsibility to something greater than yourself. This show isn't just entertainment, it's cultural politics." Bonet in turn defended her artistic freedom. This tension eventually led to the creation of the spin-off, A Different World. They centered on Denise's character in college, a solution that allowed keeping Bonet in the show's universe while alleviating tensions on the main set. Felicia Rashad also faced significant personal challenges during production. Her marriage to former NFL player and sports commentator Ahmad Rashad occurred during the third season, bringing intense media attention. Simultaneously, she dealt with raising her young daughter and the demanding filming hours. "There were days when I arrived at 5 a.m. and left at 9 p.m., she revealed years later. Trying to be a mother, a wife, and Claire Huxtable at the same time, the young cast experienced their own challenges. Malcolm Jamal Warner and Tempest Bledsoe, teenagers during much of the production, tried to balance fame, education, and normal teenage turbulence under intense public scrutiny. "Imagine having your first crush, your first pimple, your first failure, all watched by millions of people," commented Bledsoe. "We were normal teenagers in a completely abnormal situation." Despite these tensions, a genuine family bond formed among the cast. Birthday celebrations, group study sessions, and Sunday dinners at Cosby's house created a community that, in many ways, mirrored the family they portrayed on television. Rashad became a true mentor to the younger actresses, offering advice on career and personal life. Cosby insisted on regular meetings with the parents of the young actors, keeping them involved in their children's professional development. A decisive moment for the series occurred in 1989, at the height of its success, when rumors emerged that NBC could no longer afford the growing production costs and cast salaries. The show had become so popular that Cosby and the main cast were in a position to demand significantly higher compensation. The network considered canceling the program after the fifth season, despite its excellent ratings. It was at this critical moment that Cosby made a surprising decision. He offered to substantially reduce his own salary to ensure the continuation of the series and maintain the jobs of the production crew. This information only came to public knowledge many years later. "It wasn't about money for me. It was about finishing what we started, telling the complete story of this family," Cosby explained later. This decision allowed the series to continue for 3 more seasons, completing its natural narrative trajectory. The final episode, broadcast on April 30, 1992, was watched by approximately 44.4 million viewers, becoming one of the most watched series finales in American television history until then. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere was bittersweet. "We cried for days," recalled cashier Knight Pulliam. It wasn't just the end of a job, it was the end of a family. Throughout its 8 seasons, The Cosby Show won 6 Emmys, 2 Golden Globes, and numerous other awards. More significantly, the program consistently occupied first place in ratings for 5 consecutive seasons, an extraordinary feat that demonstrated a series centered on a black family could attract universal audiences. Subsequent research indicated that the program had a measurable impact on public perception of black families and contributed to reducing racial prejudice among white viewers. Life after The Cosby Show followed diverse paths for the cast. Bill Cosby continued his career as a comedian and educational activist, often addressing controversial issues related to personal responsibility in the black community. Felicia Rashad transitioned to an acclaimed career in theater, eventually becoming the first black actress to win the Tony Award for Best Actress in a play for A Raisin in the Sun in 2004. Lisa Bonet pursued a selective career in film and television, becoming a kind of countercultural icon. Malcolm Jamal Warner directed episodes of various television series in addition to continuing acting. Tempest Bledsoe graduated from New York University and diversified her career to include hosting talk shows. Cashier Knight Pulliam, the youngest of the cast, graduated from Spelman College and continued acting in films and television. Sabrina LeBeouf gradually moved away from acting to pursue a career as an interior designer. The program's legacy transcends its awards and audience numbers. The Cosby Show fundamentally altered the landscape of American television, opening doors for more diverse and multifaceted representation of African American experiences. Series such as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Living Single, and later Blackish and This Is Us owe part of their existence to the path opened by the Huxtables. "What we did wasn't just entertainment," reflected Felicia Rashad in 2018. "It was a political act disguised as family comedy. We showed an America that existed, but was rarely seen on television." Malcolm Jamal Warner added, "I grew up with people telling me they wanted to have a father like Cliff Huxtable or a family like the Huxtables. That transcends race. We created a universal aspirational model." Ironically, the program's very success contributed to changing perceptions to such an extent that, for later generations, a prosperous and functional black family on television ceased to be an anomaly. The greatest tribute to the show is that today it seems normal, not revolutionary, to see complex and successful black families in media, observed Tempest Bledsoe. Documents from the time reveal that advertising executives initially hesitated to invest in a program centered on a black family, fearing alienating white audiences. However, The Cosby Show quickly became the most valuable advertising space on television, with brands paying significant premiums to associate their products with the positive image of the Huxtable family. This economic transformation proved that representativeness was not only socially progressive, but also commercially viable. The cultural impact of the program can also be measured by the increase in enrollments at historically black universities after the introduction of the spin-off A Different World, which took place at the fictional Hillman College, inspired by institutions such as Spelman and Morehouse. Educational administrators reported a Cosby effect on admissions, particularly among first-generation students. While we celebrate the cultural legacy of The Cosby Show, it's impossible to ignore the complexities and contradictions that emerged decades after its end, with the serious allegations against Bill Cosby that emerged from 2014 onward. These revelations created a painful dilemma for fans and critics: how to reconcile the unquestionable cultural importance of the series with the actions of its creator and star. This tension reflects broader debates about separating art from artist and continues to provoke significant discussions about how to honor cultural contributions without minimizing problematic behaviors. Perhaps the true legacy of The Cosby Show resides not only in what it showed but in what it made possible. The series demonstrated that stories centered on black experiences could achieve universal appeal. That positive representation could have tangible social impacts, and that television had the potential to be both commercially successful and culturally significant. As executive producer Tom Werner said, "We wanted to make people laugh, but we also wanted to show that families are families, regardless of race or origin." I think we succeeded. In the end, The Cosby Show remains a powerful reminder that representation matters, that images can change perceptions, and that popular entertainment can be a vehicle for progressive social transformation. As Cliff Huxtable once told his son Theo in a particularly poignant moment of the series, "The journey is long and full of challenges, but it's the journey that defines us, not just the destination." Words that, ironically, captured both the aspirations of the series and its complex reverberations in the American cultural landscape in the decades that followed.